Welcome to Shy Outta Town Sports, and we're gonna go through this article that was presented by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm gonna leave a link to this. It's in Sports Illustrated. I'm gonna leave a link to this in the description box down below. You guys can read it for yourself. It's in regards to Shedeur Sanders, the interview process. Now, from what I'm seeing, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team, it appears, that had a positive interview experience with Shedeur. So let's go through some of this right quick. Steelers news. Details emerge from brutal Shedeur Sanders interview. The Pittsburgh Steelers were reportedly one of the only organizations to have a positive pre-draft meeting with the top rookie quarterback. That's damning if that is true. No, let's check it out. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the consensus landing spot for rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Many projected the team to take him in the first round, but the Steelers and 31 other teams passed on him. Let's stop right there. Now, this narrative is often being thrown around with no context at all, and people that don't watch football for whatever reason, if he really was about the mission and he really believed what he was doing, he signed for the payout. Him and his lawyers read the fine print. He knew he wouldn't be able to play in the NFL anymore, but he took the money anyway. If he would have stood his ground and stayed true to the mission, he was on par to, he probably could have owned his own NFL team. He had that much leverage, but instead he took the payout. After reading the fine print with his lawyers, he knew. So after that, the little videos that he used to make all the time, hey, look at me, I can still play, I'm still in shape, and the NFL won't let me play. That was Colin Kaepernick playing in everybody's face, and only a chosen few of us could see through that. That's why I was like, well, what's the point of me boycotting the NFL then? But that's just a side note. And I bring that up because a lot of people want to look at the Shedeur Sanders being drafted in the 5th round as a racial thing. And that's nowhere near being true. And these articles will throw little sentences out here with no context. 31 other teams passed on him. Well, there's not 31 teams in the NFL that's actively looking for a quarterback. A lot of these teams already have a starting quarterback and a solid backup quarterback. So why would they look at Shedeur Sanders? See, this is how these misconceptions and these quotes without context get thrown out there, and then people that overreact because they're living in their feelings too much will take this to a whole nother level. Oh, it must be racial, it must be this, it must be that. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Blackballing and racial situations goes against black men, but that happens in every professional sport. So the way I see it, if I'm gonna boycott the NFL, then I have to boycott the NBA also, Major League Baseball also. The way boxing be playing, brothers, I had to boycott boxing too. I mean, the way I am, either I'm going to go all the way or not at all. Ain't no half-stepping. Ain't no, okay, I'm going to boycott the NFL, but I'm going to still watch the NBA. Nah, I don't do that. And not for no Colin Kaepernick, that's for damn sure, with his hypocritical ass playing in the face of fans' ass nigga, man. Fuck that dude. But back on this. The Cleveland Browns ultimately selected Sanders in the 5th round of the draft, highlighting a massive draft slide for the top prospect. According to recent update from the Ringer's Todd McShay, the Steelers were one of the only teams to leave their meeting with Sanders with a positive impression, despite reports that the Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin was enamored with the young QB. Multiple other organizations were unimpressed by Sanders. And just think about that. They said head coach Mike Tomlin was enamored with the young QB. So enamored that even though the Steelers currently need a QB, they chose not to draft him. So you got to read between the lines. You got to use some logic and common sense and not so much feelings. Feelings can lead you over a cliff sometimes, Mike Tomlin had a chance to draft him a couple times and for some reason chose not to. And they still don't have a quarterback. So it's like, I'm not trying to hear that Mike Tomlin said he was enamored with the young QB and Mike Tomlin needs a QB, but he wasn't obviously enamored enough to draft Shedeur. The Steelers need Shedeur. They need a quarterback, a young quarterback under a rookie contract, but they still chose not to draft him. What does that say? One of those teams was the New York Giants, who had 2 chances to pick Sanders in the first round and passed. According to McShay, Sanders had a miserable meeting with the team's head coach, Brian DeBall, in a private visit. Shedeur didn't have a great interview with Brian DeBall in a private visit, McShay said. An install package came in. Preparation wasn't there for it. He got called out on it. Didn't like that. Brian didn't appreciate him not liking it. See, that's a whole discipline thing. Are you willing to be coached? You're a rookie. You can have all the talent in the world, and let's be real about it. Anybody that has watched Shedeur play, and if you just watch quarterback play, you're not even looking at all the other aspects of the team. You watch quarterback play, you isolate the quarterback and watch him go through progressions and things like that. He needs coaching. And if he's only willing to play for his father, that's a problem. And I'm not saying that's the case, but if it was an awkward interaction with Brian DeBall, and they gave him some what they call it, an install package, like preparation, probably to see how he would process it, how would he, some of that sort. And it sounds like he took it lightly, like he didn't even care. So basically, you're showing that you're uncoachable. That's a problem. People with common sense and the ability to think with logic, how do you not see that? No matter what sport it is, if you're an uncoachable player, you're not going to be playing professionally very long. And if you're not willing to be coached, teams are going to move past you. They're going to get rid of you. It happens all the time in every sport. Didn't stop there. According to McShay, citing sources within 2 other organizations with top 10 picks, Sanders struggled in those interviews as well. This comes shortly after Tom Pellet of NFL.com shared that an anonymous NFL assistant coach disclosed to him that Sanders was among the worst interviews he'd ever seen. Now, I'm going to be real about it. I'm not a fan of anonymous sources. Like, saying stuff behind the scenes and, throwing a rock and hiding your hand. I've never been a fan of that. I mean, if that's what you feel, that's what you think, you should put your name on it, write it in cursive, as far as I'm concerned. But the problem is it seems to be multiple executives and coaches are saying this about him. So I don't know. None of us was in that room. We don't know what was actually said and done, what wasn't said. And this is where all the people talking about there's collusion going on in the NFL. And then I laugh at the racial aspect they want to throw in there, because the number 1 draft pick was Cam Ward. He's a black quarterback. The number 2 pick was Travis Hunter. He's black. You know what I'm saying? That part is a fact. So the whole racist, racial aspect thing that people trying to throw into this because they don't have nothing else to do, I guess, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's a head-spinning update regarding the young QB. For the Steelers to be so interested in him, but for the rest of the league to have the opposite viewpoint, something doesn't add up. It's possible that the Steelers had a poor evaluation of the young passer. Still, with so many other franchises sharing a negative experience with Sanders, it makes you wonder what Pittsburgh was thinking in their 2025 NFL draft approach. And they need a quarterback. I mean, that's why it don't make sense. Then even though they need a quarterback, they didn't draft him. That don't add up. Pittsburgh Steelers are no longer waiting for Shedeur Sanders. After avoiding the Colorado quarterback in the opening round, the team watched Sanders leave the board in 5th round by the Cleveland Browns. Sanders came into the NFL draft as an expected first-round pick, but fell. Yeah, I'm going to let you guys read the rest of this because they basically just rehashing a lot of the stuff we already know. And the thing I wanted to point out was, they claimed the Pittsburgh Steelers were enamored by him, but they still didn't pick him even though they need a quarterback. They got rid of Russell Wilson. Justin Fields went to the Jets. I mean, they need a quarterback. You read some more of this. Sanders and the Steelers were linked throughout the later part of the NFL draft process. The team met with Sanders and the NFL Combine and then brought him in for a pre-draft visit. Head coach Mike Tomlin was very impressed with the character and toughness, and reports claim the team was heavily considering him as a first-round option at the 21st pick. Well, what happened? That's what I don't understand. None of this makes sense. It's like they talking in circles. It's like, what if the interview went good and you got a good impression of him and you watch his tape, obviously, why wouldn't you draft him? Something there's some big pieces of the puzzle that's missing, and I don't know if Mike Tomlin might have, what they say in the judicial system, might have like a gag order on him, like he can't reveal the truth about why they passed on him. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't his call. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Maybe it wasn't his call. Maybe the owner didn't want to put up with it. I mean, I don't know. The interview. They didn't say the owner wasn't in the interview. So, instead the Steelers went with Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon and let Sanders head into the second round. See, none of this makes any sense. Pittsburgh still doesn't have an answer from Aaron Rodgers. And as of the Sanders pick, Mason Rudolph would be walking into the NFL season as their starter. And they already know what the Mason Rudolph experiment looks like. That's why I was like, I mean, it wouldn't be smart for them to be sitting on their hands and waiting for Aaron Rodgers to decide if, maybe he wants to come back or maybe he wants to retire. That would be dumb for them to do that. And even if, Aaron Rodgers does decide to come to the Steelers, he would have been the starter. Even if they would have drafted Shedeur Sanders, Aaron Rodgers would have been the starter. No doubt about it. So none of this makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. I'm going to leave a link to this article in the description box. You guys can read it for yourself. Maybe you can make more sense out of it than I can. But, the Pittsburgh Steelers comments, they just don't make sense to me. And they need a quarterback. So, I'm thinking they're lying about the interview process. And Mike Tomlin probably didn't want to add to the perception that, Shedeur Sanders had a bad interview, even though everybody else is saying that. So, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. This is Shy Outta Town Sports. And we are out of here.